This live stream brought to you by the Excelsior Citizen and these generous sponsors.
The Simmons Sales Team, your hometown realtors.
Our Excelsior Springs Hospital, where better care is right in your backyard.
Whether we're talking about our dedication to preventing and restoring power outages, our pursuit of safety, or providing the best member experience possible, we are relentless in serving our community.
Since 1974, Chuck Anderson Ford has proudly served the community's automotive needs. From new and pre-owned vehicles to parts and service, they've been there in the past and they'll be there in the future. Visit Chuck Anderson Ford today. Excelsior Springs. I wish I didn't have to. Visit ExcelsiorCitizen.com today.
Got quiet all of a sudden.
Anybody know any good jokes?
Sorry, everyone, just 1 second.
Anybody good? Does anybody need a water? We got some water right here. Anybody needs water?
So I think while Jason is finishing up, I'll just kind of cover some housekeeping stuff real quick and give you all directions in case you've never been here before. We have restrooms down the hallway to the right of where you came in the front door. If you do need to get up and leave the room or come back in during the event, we just ask you to use the door back here. This one's actually locked from the other side, so you're not going to be able to come in here. We're not locking you in, though. If there's a fire, you can go out that door. Actually, I'd go out this one, because that goes right outside. So, you know, use your common sense. But, yeah, so if you do need to go out, just go out that way. And we're going to have our staff kind of direct people to come in this door in the back, so we're not interrupting anything with somebody walking in right in the front here. And if you've never been here before, thank you for coming and seeing our facility. We're really proud of it. This room was added during our renovations in 2018. It allows us to have events like this and programs that in a way that we never were before. We can go ahead and get started. Okay. So, welcome to the library, as I was saying. My name is Stephen Chalmers. I am the branch manager of the Excelsior Springs branch of Mid-Continent Public Library here. And I'd like to thank our co-sponsors for this event, the Excelsior Citizen, the Chamber of Commerce, and the Excelsior Springs Businesswomen of Missouri. First, we're going to have a presentation by incoming school superintendent Mark Bullimore. He's going to be doing a presentation on the upcoming levy issue that's going to be on the ballot next week. And then I'm going to turn it over to Brian Rice from the Chamber, and he's going to be moderating the candidate forum for our 3 candidates who are here tonight, Anna Sue Spahn, Kaylin Good, and Trey Markins. So with that, I think I'll just turn it over to Mark if you're ready to go, and just take it from here. So.
Let me see, I've got this first. Okay, I'm using the microphone for our people online. So I'm Brian Rice. I am the Chamber President, and the Excelsior Citizen asked the Chamber to help moderate this tonight, so I'm proud to be here. I'm happy to be here helping with tonight's event. And before we get started, I did want to go down kind of the way the night's going to go. So like Stephen said, we're going to have 2 parts to the evening. We're going to start with the school tax levy discussion. Dr. Mark Bullimore has a few talking points he'll talk about it, hopefully inform you on what's going on with the tax levy. And then we've got some tax levy questions that we're going to ask him and get answers from him. And then we're going to turn it over to the candidates. We'll have our 3 candidates come up here and take their seats. Same situation. I will let them do their introductions. We will have, everybody will have 2 minutes to do their introductions. And Mackenzie will be our timekeeper here tonight. We will open up, we will then have candidate questions that we will ask them. Jason, Cole, and I have reviewed those. We received over 60 questions from the community, so great participation. If you've submitted a question, we really appreciate your participation in that. And then we'll let the candidates have closing remarks. We'll hopefully keep that going with our timed answers and stuff. We'll try to keep this at our scheduled time of a couple of hours and stuff. So here's how we compiled tonight's questions. The Excelsior Citizen polled residents for over 2 weeks. So you were able to ask any question you wanted to via email, through Facebook, or the online poll that they had. And like I said a minute ago, we received over 60 questions. So what Jason and I did over the last 2 days is we went through all those questions, we sorted them by category, and we found there was like 4 specific categories that people tend to be concerned about. We wanted to make sure we addressed all 4 of those categories. We took those 60 questions and we tried to get them down. We took the repeats, put them all together, and that sort of thing. We got it down to about 16 questions. So we want to make sure giving all the candidates a chance to answer those questions. If we run short on time, hopefully we'll have enough time to go through all the questions, but if not, the Excelsior Citizen will follow up with answers later on. So then there'll be opportunities for you to ask questions of the candidates after the forum. I wanted to make it clear that this is a forum. We are asking them questions, they're answering. This is not a debate, so it's not going to be open for some back and forth conversations. So that's how we set this up for tonight. And now we'll get started. So if Dr. Mark Bullimore, Deputy Superintendent, would like to come up and get started with the tax levy.
Thank you, sir. Good evening. I'm Mark from the school district. So this is my 20th year in the school district and in our community, and I want to thank you guys for being here and thank our sponsors for tonight. Usually this presentation takes about 45 minutes, so I promise not to take over an hour of your time. We're here for the candidates. No, I'm kidding. We've condensed this down. We're here for the candidates. Wish all of you guys luck. If you haven't heard, we have something coming up next Tuesday on the ballot, a levy issue. So we wanted to share some of those facts up here. And then I think Brian has some questions for us. So tax rate of use, our current tax rate is 5.2262. Our proposed tax rate would increase that 70 cents per $100 of assessed valuation. The point of this is to increase general annual revenues to directly improve staff salaries and benefits in order to address our ability to recruit and retain staff members. That's all staff members, from teachers to classified staff to our administrators as well. Here is the levy mean for homeowners. So this is the impact on homeowners. Yes, it impacts real estate, it'll impact personal property, but we wanted to address homeowners as that is usually the largest piece that it impacts. So your current tax assessment with the current tax rate on a $225,000 house is up there. Future tax assessment, the annual difference on that would be just a little bit lower than $300. So you can kind of use that if you want to take $100,000 and multiply it up depending on where you're at. I just picked 225 as an example. So why we're doing this? So we thought that it was very important to partner with a third-party company that came in and did a compensation study for us. We really wanted to make sure that we embrace transparency during this process. We didn't want anyone to think we were sitting behind a room and coming up with these numbers and making it up. So we partnered with Educational Management Solutions, who is an expert in this. And so they conducted a comprehensive compensation study where they compared our salaries for all of our job families to 12 to 15 peer districts. Those are the peer districts that were selected by our district leadership committee, and those are districts that we lose teachers to. So those are the districts that were selected to go through this study. The results of this were the teaching staff. So our teaching and certified staff earn about 9% below the median at steps 1 through 10. So when you're coming in at a beginner level, they earn about 9% below, and then about 6.5% below at steps 11 through 20, with the largest deficit at the master's plus level. Support staff, so all of our classified staff, so we have between 140 and 155 of those. Our classified support staff earn about 20% below starting pay medium and about 8% below at step 15. So we closed the gap a little bit. We've addressed trying to get people here and keep them here, but we're still below the median on the districts that we lose staff members to. And our administrative staff, our administrative team of 16 or 17 people earn about 28% below starting pay medium and 23% below at step 15 of neighboring districts, which can make it difficult to attract and retain strong leadership. So altogether, we have about 375 employees throughout the district that make up our certified, classified, and administrative staff. Proposed staff compensation. So EMS went through this staff compensation. They provided some recommendations and a final summary, which they presented to the district leadership team. What came from that, their suggestion, and what we presented to the district leadership team that they seemed to be in broad acceptance of was a plan of 8%, 6%, and 4% increases for certified, classified, and administrative staff based on those recommendations. For the certified staff, a big piece of feedback we continue to hear from the district leadership committee and from our staff members were we were more competitive early and less later on. So they wanted to make sure that once we got good teachers and we trained them up, that we could keep them and they weren't leaving to other districts. So that is also part of this proposed raise allocation, would be to have more percentage at the Masters Plus so we can keep those teachers that we've already trained up. If you look at our current district payroll pie up there, so that's how our current district payroll breaks down. So 65.5% of our salaries go to teachers, classified is about 27.3%, and administrative is about 7.2%. And that makes up about a $26 million budget for staff salaries. That's about 74 to 78% of our overall district budget. Proposed percentage raise allocation is presented to the district leadership committee, and then it would need to be presented to the board for approval. The overall new money would be 78.2% of that would go to our teachers, 17.9% would go to our classified staff, and 3.9% would go to our administration. And what that breaks down to is, one of the big pieces of this proposal was ensuring that, not just addressing the base when they come in, but more of a percentage increase for the teacher scale. So that way it's impacting them throughout the scale. As you can see, we've always identified and tried to ensure that we focus on staff salaries and teacher salaries. Teachers are the most important thing that happens in the classroom. They have the biggest impact on learning. As you can see in the other slide, we're the closest in that group. So we've always prioritized that. We'll continue to do that with the proposed percent raise allocation. Are there the questions?
I'm going to ask you straight. So what I'll do, if you sit here, he'll pick you up on this mic down here. You can just talk.
Okay.
And
I have to sit.
you don't have to. I'm a teacher. I'm not going to sit down.
So again, we received over 60 questions. We compiled the duplicates into these 5 that we will be asking Dr. Bullimore. And the first question is, according to the ballot language, the proposed levy increase would go into the operating fund, or Fund 1, which covers a broad range of general expenses. However, some voters have asked why this increase was not directed towards Fund 2, which is the teacher's fund, which is specifically designated for certified staff salaries and benefits. Can you explain why the district chose to direct this levy increase to Fund 1 instead of Fund 2? And how can you assure the voters that these new funds will in fact be used primarily for improving teacher compensation and not diverted to other activities? You can just talk.
Sure, so that's a great question. So Fund 1, the reason most districts, if not the majority of districts, allocate those salaries to Fund 1 and why we thought it was important is because our district and how we pay those things, if you put it into the teacher's fund, only teachers can be paid for that. We found it very important that we wanted it to impact all of our staff members. That was also why it was important for us to bring in the compensation study and have that done. So that way we can provide that justification on that. You cannot put that towards those classified staff salaries or benefits if it's in Fund 2. Ways that we can continue to make sure that we are doing that, we've capitalized on the promise. Part of that's trust. We've capitalized on our promise from Proposition Tiger when we built Cornerstone. We've capitalized on the promises that we made in Proposition Lewis when we built Lewis. And also when we do a state audit, it tells us that we need to spend these funds. This is how we've allocated these funds in the ballot language, which is why we use the bond company to write that. And then when they go through and do our annual audit, they will check and make sure that's how those funds are being used. And then that's part of the proposal of the district leadership committee is how those new funds are going to be used and break down for the board approval pending a successful audit.
And speaking of audits, that's a great lead into this question. Can you please explain for the public what financial controls and audit processes are in place to ensure taxpayer funds are used? Can you share what budget of funds were made before requesting a tax? For example, what other solutions were bringing this to the public?
Certainly. Something that we've looked at, the staff, as I discussed, is $74 to $76 million. We have, over the last 3 years, through attrition, we've reduced staff by about 14 staff members. That includes an instructional coach, a behavior specialist, and 2 administrators. So we're continuing to look at every position that comes open through attrition. What can be difficult for us is if we go out and advertise that we're cutting positions or that we're cutting programs, it makes it very difficult for us to maintain staff because they don't feel confident in their position. But it can also make it difficult for us to recruit new staff because if you look at a district that's advertising they're making these cuts, they don't necessarily want to go there. And that's something that Warwick went through last year when they were doing their levy increase as well.
If the levy fails, what are the district's contingency plans for teacher retention and maintaining educational quality? What cuts are being considered, if any?
I think for educational quality and the educational experience, the priority for us, the number one priority is maintaining a strong culture of educational learning in the classroom for both our students and our staff members. It's the number one priority. So something that that is a priority for me coming in as a new superintendent. Next year we will work with our community and our staff members to develop a new strategic plan. So our last strategic plan is over, and so that'll be something that we come in and look at whatever the budget is and whatever happens on Tuesday, we want to develop that again together with our community. It's important for us to make sure we have the input of our community and make sure that we work together because they're all of our kids. They're your kids, they're my kids. Some of you I taught in school, my kids have been taught by some of you. And so as we develop a plan as a community, we want to make sure we have the input of all that stakeholders. So I'll be reaching out to some of you to help with that. What I can tell you, it's a long process and it can be arduous, but it's very important. It's the most important thing that we're going to do starting next year. And that'll be the first step of whatever happens next Tuesday, of us continuing to have a strong school and community. What was the rest of that question?
It was just what cuts were, do you have anything in planned for that? Have you considered any cuts?
Yeah, I think when you look at it again, our people budget is 74 to 78% of our budget. It's $26 million. So I can cut every building budget, and we'll have to look at building budgets. You could cut that by 10, 15, 20%, and it makes a very small dent in our overall budget, building budgets too. It's people. It comes down to people. We have to continue to recruit and retain good teachers, and that costs money. In order to do that, if you want to pay them more and the pie's not getting bigger, you have to have less people to pay more. That's the last thing that we want to do, is address classroom sizes if we have to. But people budget is the biggest budget, and that makes the biggest impact. So you'll have to look at class sizes. We're very proud of having small class sizes. That will be something we have to look at, whether it's opportunities that we already allow for students or the expansion of opportunities. All those types of things will need to be on the docket as we look at how to operationally be more efficient in what it is we're trying to do. And that's regardless of what happens on Tuesday. Like I said, the last 3 years, knowing or not knowing what's going to happen with state and local budgets, we try and do that proactively through those, so we can do it through attrition. The last thing I want to do, especially with less teachers wanting to get an education, the last thing I want to do is have to go to a teacher and say, you're no longer welcome here. We want all of our teachers here, and we want them all to stay here. They impact my personal kids, they impact your kids, they impact our community, they impact the future of our community. So anything that we can do to keep them here and have a strong community is what we want to do.
All right. Last question, and a lot of people were asking this one. Some community members are asking, why now? Especially given that the district just completed major construction projects like Lewis Elementary, and with families feeling the effects of rising costs and property assessments. Can you explain the timing of this proposed levy increase? Why is this request being made now? And what changed in the district's financial picture that makes this increase urgent or necessary at this moment?
Yeah, well, the first thing I want to say is it is not just our community that's facing this. Every community around us and every school district around us is going through the same sort of thing. Unknown on future financial stability, but also on how can we keep good teachers. Every district's going through it. Warwick went through it last year when they went through their levy and passed a $1 increase, and they're 10% the size of us. Park Hill's going through it right now where they're asking for a levy increase, and they're not quite 10 times the size of us, but they're much larger than us and more affluent than our district. Platte County and Smithville are going through the same thing right now. They're lucky enough with their growth that they're not having to ask for an increase. They're able to do that through a no tax increase, which we've been able to do before. When we did Lewis and when we did Cornerstone, we were able to get that money to put it towards buildings, but also through healthy financial standing and through our reserves, we've been able to address salaries. If you look back at the slide, we're not far away on salaries, but we're far enough away where people look and they go. But over the last 5 years, we've been able to use our finances to raise the base pay by $6,000. We've addressed our salary scale by almost $4 an hour. So we've been able to do those things without asking for more. The point that we've got to now is our teachers are also facing the same thing that you're all facing. They go to the same Aldi to buy the same bag of salad that we all do. They go to the same Quick Trip and get the same spicy taquito and fill up their gas. They go to Walmart and buy the same groceries. We're all facing the same thing. We know it's difficult. I don't want to pay more taxes. I know that you don't want to pay more taxes, but I want good teachers. It's important for the future of our community that we have good teachers. And that's the wonderful thing about our democracy is we all get a vote. It's a math question. Are we able to do this? Are we not able to do this? Tonight, we're one community. Next Tuesday and Wednesday, we're also going to be one community, right? So we get to make these decisions and we're going to move forward. There's amazing things happening in our schools. There's amazing things happening in our community, all over the place. And we're going to continue to do that together, and we can do anything that we want as a community, even next Wednesday, regardless of the outcome, regardless of how we voice our vote. We can do those things together through hard work. So.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. All right. I'd like to ask our school board candidates to come up, please. No particular order. And Jason has mics on the table, so you won't have to worry about being mic'd or being heard. Everything you say will be picked up. Okay. So what I want to do now is I want to give each of you an opportunity to take a few minutes and introduce yourself to the crowd and to our online watchers, and tell us a little bit about yourself, your history, and your experience with the schools. So we'll start down at the end with Trey. You knew I was going to do that. You knew I was going to.
He does this to me during meetings.
My name is Trey Harkins. I'm a lifelong resident of Excelsior Springs. I've been on the board for 15 years now. I've got no kids in the district, nieces, nephews. Let's see. What was the other part of it? Tell us about ourselves.
Just an introduction, whatever you want to say.
That's me.
All right. Kaylin.
Hi, I'm Kaylin Good. I have been on the board for 6 years. I'm going into my 7th year, hopefully. I have 2 kids in the district. I'm a foster mom as well. I own my own business. I have done a lot of things with this district. We accomplished Cornerstone, Lewis, Swope Healthcare. I mean, that's about it. I serve on a lot of committees. I do all of the kids' activities for Waterfest, and I do the Little Mr. and Miss pageant for Waterfest, so I spend 2 days of my life in 1,000-degree heat with a bunch of kids walking around, making sure I don't lose them, and that's about it.
I'm Anna Sue Spahn, and I moved to this city 37 years ago today. Today is our 37th year anniversary, so I'm spending my anniversary with y'all. And I have 2 children. One is 44, one is 35. Both of them went to school in Excelsior Springs, and both of them graduated from Excelsior Springs. I also have 3 lovely grandchildren, 2 of them in which are at Cornerstone. And I'm very pleased with what's going on at Cornerstone and how they're progressing in their reading and in their math. It's coming, but their reading is going well. I have a business. I have a travel business that I've had since '07. I also do some real estate since 2020 because, as you know, the pandemic took out the travel business, so I had to find something to do. So thank you for having this forum, and I'm glad to be here.
Out of the questions that we collected, we found that a lot of them were in 4 different categories, and so we broke them down into these categories, and I'm going to start out with the priorities, leadership, and the political climate. So, Trey, I'll have you answer this one first. What are your top 3 priorities for the school district over the next 4 years?
Sorry, she's our timekeeper, so she's giving me hand signals. So, top 3 priorities I would say is increasing test scores. Although the MAP test is a painful way to test and grade the school district, but it's what they do. So not everybody's a good test taker, but that's how we're graded, so that's what we have to do. Teacher retention, however we have to do it, that's top 3. And then continuing keeping our buildings and our facilities current and up to date.
Okay, Kaylin.
I think my top 3 are going to be academic success. I think that we need to, we need readers. We need to have, we need better readers. We need kids in classrooms. We need to focus on attendance. That all goes into academic success. I think that we need to make sure that our kids are set up and ready for their next grade before they move into it. So that would be my first one. My second one is going to be teacher wages. Our teachers feel undervalued, underpaid, overworked. They are the ones that have our kids in classrooms. They're the ones that are, keeping our children safe throughout the day, and they're giving them a voice, to learn and to be better people. So I think our teachers need to make more money for sure. The third one probably is going to be bullying. I think we have a horrible culture right now with bullying, especially in the middle school. I have a middle school daughter. I've saw it before she ever even went into that building. I think that we need to focus on making sure our kids are safe at school with mental health and with each other. So that would be it.
GPA, overall GPA, at this point is 1.70 in our district, and I would like to see the overall GPA go up. And of course that comes with test scores and that. My second, probably just as important, and it addresses what Kaylin said about bullying, but I would like to see all cell phones, earpods, and smartwatches taken out of our classrooms at the start of the day. And we don't get them back until the end of the day. And I know that's an expense to do it, but I think that will alleviate so many things. I've been in contact with a school down South Missouri that's done it for 2 years, and they have incredible success with it. Difficult because it's an addiction, believe it or not. We're all addicted to our cell phones, every one of us. So that's the tough part. So those are my two main things. And then, of course, transparency and accountability. Accountability of teachers to parents, I think, is important. Accountability to teachers to children. When there is a policy in place, that we keep it in place and we just don't overlook it once it's been on for 1 or 2, 3 months at the beginning of the school year, and we just forget about it. So this information I've gotten from people that I've talked to that are working in the district, so those are my things.
And so I'll come back to you with this one. What motivates your desire to serve on the school board? And how do you plan to stay connected to student and parent perspectives?
Well, not being a school board member and not really knowing the availability or the allowability, I must say, of what we would be able to do in the community. But I'm already in the community, and I talk to teachers, I talk to parents. Parents have a lot of qualms about different things. Maybe being a advocate for parents to the teachers. That's what I think that I could do. I think that I have very good listening skills and listening to people. I listen to people about many things in my business and address many different things. My passion for our community. If we have a robust school, people come to that community. And with what the city is doing in our plan of wanting to do 1,600 new builds in our community over the next 15 years, we're making that available for people to come to this community, as well as industry, and that's being planned with the city. So I kind of have an in-line with that, so kind of know what's going on with all that. So that's what motivates me, because the school is very important.
All right, Kaylin, what motivates you to serve on the school board?
Kids. This job is about kids. That's what it all comes down to. My own kids, your kids, all of the kids of this community. I have got to watch a lot of them grow up doing this. I mean, 6 years in the school world, it's a whole building. I have one little girl that I've gotten to know over doing this, and she used to ask me to come to lunch and all the things, and she's graduating this year. Like, that's awesome. Like, that is my why. It's kids.
Trent?
I'd have to piggyback on Kaylin and say kids. Not having kids, I don't get to advocate for my kids because I don't have them. So I feel like I'm an advocate for everybody's kid. How would I stay in touch with parents and students? I think pretty much everybody in town would know how to find me. I mean, I'm not real hard to find. I'll give out my phone number to anybody because it rings 24/7 anyway. So you're welcome to call me at any time if you have concerns with something's going on in a school building. I'll listen to you. I might ask you, have you talked to your principal yet or the teacher about it yet? I'm prior military too. There's a chain of command. There's a chain of command going up and there's a chain of command going down. I'm not going to come and talk to the teacher and criticize them on how they're handling a kid. I go to the superintendent and say, hey, I've heard from a parent, this is an issue. Can you look into it? And it works its way down. It's the same thing when it comes up. But it's kids. I mean, 15 years I've read to them in kindergarten and then handed them their diploma when they walk across the stage, and it's pretty special.
Thank you. Kaylin, I'll start with you this time. Do you believe public education in Missouri is under threat from state and national political forces, and how should the district respond?
I do. I think everything is under political threat right now. I mean, if you look at either side, I'm not going to go either way because I'm here for kids and they don't go either way. But I think when we're looking at it, it does affect public education. It does hurt us, if we don't have the buy-in from up here. So I think, what was the rest of the question, Brian?
How should the district respond?
I mean, we try to be, as transparent as possible. I think with political climates, it's really easy to jump in and say things that we shouldn't. I think that we need to be very methodical on how we approach things with anything political, because like I said, we're for kids, and when you start going one way or the other, you're not for kids anymore. So,
Anna Sue, would you like to respond to that?
I think the political climate, we all get a chance to vote. We all get a chance to vote with what we want in the White House, in the State House, in our county, in our school board, all of it. And so if there, is something that is not going well, or something that's being adverse, or even something that's going well, we have the chance to vote and find out, that we can carry on with that. I don't know. I think we need to do more fact-finding and finding out from our local people that we have in place with the state, with the county, and what's really going on, and not just make assumptions of what we think might happen. I think we can be, taken down the fear hole with all of that, and I don't think that's good or healthy for anybody. So I think that, children are the main reason why we have our public school system. And the main reason why teachers become teachers is because they have a passion for kids. And so protecting all of that, I think, is very important.
Trey?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure.
Sorry.
How do you believe public education in Missouri is under threat from state and national political forces, and how should the district respond?
Yes, I don't know about national, just because I think it's worked itself kind of filtered into different departments. So I don't know enough about that on the national side. State side, I think yes to some degree, and I think the schools, if they see something that's presented or being presented, the school districts need to take a stand. If they feel that harms them or harms a student, it's not good for students, then they need to take a stand. Every school district is part of I think almost every region of the state has a co-op, so to speak, that you can buy supplies through and stuff. And we're part of the Greater Kansas City School District Cooperative, I think is what it's called. And Dr. Southwick is the executive director. They hire a lobbyist to keep us abreast of what bills are going forth and where they stand, and why they think it's a pro or why they think it's a con. And I think that's a good way to kind of go through the weeds and see what is facts or not facts, and then make your own decision. But a perfect example is, and I'm going to get the Senate bill wrong, but I think it's 727 maybe, that was passed last year and signed. Well, the new governor doesn't, want to fund it. Well, that's $1 million to our district. If he doesn't, if he shorts the formula, 300 million or 200 million, I can't remember the number now, but so that cost us. That's money that we would have gotten to do teacher raises or something with, So, those are things I think we just got to take a stand against and say, hey, let's go. What do we do? Why not? Why not are we doing this? So.
And on that topic, and this is the last one under this category, how would you work to ensure that the school district remains a strong publicly funded institution amid the growing support for privatization? So Trey, I'll let you start.
Privatization. It's a big word this late in the afternoon.
Multiple syllables.
it's a big word so late in the day. You remember there was a thunderstorm last night, right? We were all up early. Can you start at the beginning and leave the last part out?
How would you work to ensure that the school district remains strong, a strong publicly funded institution amid this growing support for privatization?
If the state doesn't fully fund the formula and we do lose money, then we just have to look at every line item in the budget and say, what can we cut? Where can we not do something? The good thing is we didn't have that money So it's not like we have to cut this year. We just have to look at next year. And many of you may or may not know how school finance works. But I'll just give you a quick. You have to do your budget by the end of June. Okay. You're anticipating what your revenues might be, and you don't find that out until August, September, October. I think Clay County is now the end of September before they have to tell you what you're going to get from them. So you've made your budget and you've approved it. You have no idea what your revenues are going to be yet. You're anticipating what they might be, but you don't know. So if those come in lower, you've already got to do a budget revision and start cutting stuff, or So it's a shell game until you get those numbers, because you just don't know. Now the state will know. They have to pass the budget in May, so sometime in June about what you're going to get from the state. But the state's only 36% of our funding. About 8.5% comes from federal, and the rest is local. So when state pulls back money, that drives your local funding comes up more. So I mean, it's a balancing act to make it work.
Cam?
You're gonna have to repeat it. I know you don't want to.
Okay, no. You don't want me to say that word. That's what I'm saying.
4 times and
Just
you
stop
have it.
saying it. Leave the last part out.
Okay. How would you work to ensure that the school district remains a strong, publicly funded institution amid the growing support for privatizing?
I am one of 7 people serving on this board. And when we all come together, it takes all 7 of us to figure out where the money is going to go and how we're going to spend it. I really think that we need to be very meticulous when we look over things. We need to look at where we are spending money. We need to look at every single line item and individual budget. Good thing that we have some amazing staff that, does that for us most of the time and helps us out and teaches us, because we don't necessarily know everything that we're looking at the same time either. I think that we're going to have to get very creative. It does come from a local level if we're not funded, up here. And I just think that we're going to have to get some buy-in from the community and make sure that they understand that, we're stewards of their money and we're trying very hard. So.
Well, I've already had these 2 people and tell what you would have to do with a budget. And again, not being on a board, I know that it takes so much, and there's just, you can just look at all the line items on the website, and there's just a lot that goes there. And we rely on the local, the state, national levels. It may mean that there's some extra things that we do in our schools that may not be academic that need to be cut. It'd be painful. It'd be very painful. It may not be, above anyone to maybe have some pretty massive fundraisers in our community. What would be wrong with that? If we have people that if we let them know what we need, it would be big fundraisers, but you just do what you have to do to be able to educate the children, because the education is the number one thing. They need to be able to read. They need to be able to do math. They need to know they need to have that GPA that is a good GPA for them to go on and forward into formal education if they choose, trade school if they choose, or be an entrepreneur if they choose. So they have to have the knowledge, and that's number one.
We're allowed to piggyback, aren't we? Didn't you say I could do that? Could we piggyback around? Just if I forgot something that we can add?
You haven't used all your time, Sharon.
Okay. I think that we also need to look at if we are going to come at a local level and we don't get funding from up here, buildings, we're talking like Elkhorn, staffing, programs, after school things. There are things that these kids need. I can't imagine getting rid of Elkhorn. I cannot imagine not being able to afford that building. That terrifies me because that's an amazing school. Like they're their own little community. So I really think that we need to make sure we really look at everything and understand that what could happen.
Okay. Moving into the next section, we're going to talk a little bit about curriculum, equity, and the student experience. So there's 3 questions in here. And the first question is, legislation has been introduced in Missouri that, if passed, requires that educational institutions no longer use state funding for the implementation of teaching or support of diversity, equity, and inclusion, any programs or initiatives. The districts that do not comply would have state funding frozen until compliant. What are your thoughts on how to balance mandates to eliminate DEI-related content with the district's responsibility to create an inclusive learning environment for all students? And Trey, I'll let you start that one.
Did you say there was a bill presented or a bill passed?
I think it's introduced. It's House Bill 1024.
So, whatever House they pass, I mean, whatever the governor signs into law, you have to follow it. I mean, you don't have a choice. You can dispute it in court, you can challenge it in court, but in the meantime, you still have to abide by whatever the law is, regardless of what it is. Everything we do, we have to follow state law. I mean, we don't have a choice, or we lose all of our funding and our accreditation. And guess what? You'll be able to buy houses cheap in Excelsior then. So, as far as I know, we don't teach DEI. We hire the best candidate for every job, regardless of your color, your religion, your whatever. We want the best of the best to teach our kids. It doesn't matter to us. So, I would say, if it's a law, we'll follow the law. If people in the state of Missouri challenge it, the other districts and stuff, would we join them? I don't know. I mean, would you have to? Because let them put the legal bill. And then just let the courts handle it and see where it goes.
Okay. Anna Sue, I'll let you go next.
DEI, with what we have seen on the political level, I do not agree with. Because that DEI is, should men or boys be in women's sports? That's part of DEI. No, I don't believe. I mean, I'm just going to be transparent. I don't agree with DEI, period. However, what Trey was saying is that inclusive in a matter of, it doesn't matter what color you are, or maybe even what disability you have, or what alternative lifestyle you may have as in your person, as a personal teacher or what have you. If you are qualified to be a teacher, qualified to work in the district, then you would be hired. But as far as anything that talks about DEI with what we have seen on the stage in our nation over the last 4 years, I'm totally against it, and I'm glad it's been kicked.
Kayla?
Piggyback off Trey, if there is a bill passed and we have to follow it, we'll follow it. I know we do not have DEI in our schools. I've double checked, I've fact checked, I've called, I've double checked. We, as a district, as a person, like I said, I'm one of 7. I have my own opinions too. I don't care if you're black, red, green, purple, blue, tall, short, fat, wide, in a wheelchair. I don't care. If you want a job and you're qualified to do it, you have a job. I think that we need to be inclusive no matter what we do as people. But yes, we do not have DEI in our school.
Okay. The next question, there's also 2 bills in Missouri. There's a Senate bill and a House bill that are being introduced that would require every public school classroom to display the 10 Commandments. What are your views on this proposal, and how do you see it aligning or conflicting with the constitutional principles of religious freedom and the separation of church and state in public education? Kayla?
I think that state and church need to be separate. I do not think the 10 Commandments need to be in the classroom. If we're going to do that, like I said, all inclusive, we're going to have to do everything. I really don't think that needs to be there. Public school is public school, church is church. I have attended both, and I don't think that they need to be incorporated together. And I'm going to leave it at that.
And Sue?
I agree with the 10 Commandments being in the classroom. We started many years ago with the 10 Commandments in the classroom. And it was taught on how you present yourself, how you behave, how you, through those commandments. And I think as children learn those commandments, I don't really, yes, they are written by God. Yes, they have biblical, it is biblical. But I think it's a step in the right direction. The Pledge of Allegiance, 10 Commandments, I think it should all be in the classroom.
Trey?
Let's be all inclusive. I mean, if you want to put them there, that's fine, but let's put, the Quran, let's put every religion. I mean, I'm okay if you do religious studies in school, but let's teach every religion. I mean, not everybody worships the same God, let's be honest. I mean, we're a mixed culture, and not everybody does the same thing. So that bill was passed in Louisiana, I believe it was, and their Supreme Court struck it down. So if it passes, again, we'll abide by it until it's challenged.
Moving on to the next section, we're going to talk a little bit about community engagement, transparency, and governance. So there's been a lot of conversation, and the vibe is that there's not very good communication between the public and the schools. So what steps can the school board take to improve communication with the public? Trey, I'll start with you.
I don't know how, I mean, like I said, every board member is accessible. We all live here. We're all part of the community. We're all active in the community. So there's no reason why if somebody really wants to talk to us, they can reach out. I mean, I would like to see us, we did, when Dr. Lawrence was here, we did listening posts. I think we had 3 or 4 of them, and then it got to where the first one, several people showed up. The second one, a third of the people showed up, and the third one, I think we had 2 people. So it was kind of like, okay, we're not doing these anymore because no one's showing up. But I wouldn't mind trying that again. And it was we had an agenda, we had a couple items, and then it was just kind of an open air type thing. So that'd be a good way to kind of get everybody back in. The board members all have emails, school district emails, it's first name, last name.
ga.essd40.com.
It's too long, I can't remember it. But, so I mean, there's a million ways for you to reach us. I put my address on Facebook, so just come by the house. It's just, I live by Angela, just come on by. It's, I'll be happy to talk to anybody about any issue they have or any questions they have. I got nothing to hide. I mean, it's open book. I'll print it off and show it to you if you don't want to take the time to look it up on the internet, on our website. So,
Kaylin?
Communication, I think, can always get better, no matter what we're doing. Accessibility with the board, I think we probably need to be out there more. We probably need to be a little bit more visible than just you guys coming to a board meeting and sitting there and seeing us in open session. I like the listening post idea. I like forums. We used to do, when Dr. Hain, when I first was on the board, we did a couple of forums. I think we were trying to do, maybe it was Build Cornerstone at the time, and the community, just when they came out and they talked to you, those are a lot of fun when you get to interact with them. We do have emails. You can email us anytime. I have a business that's across the street. You're more than welcome to stop by anytime you see my car there. I live over on Woods. You can come over anytime. But yeah, we are accessible in that way, but I think we could be out there a little bit more. And I do think that when parents ask us questions, we need to be able to answer a lot of them. And I know we direct you to the principals, we direct you to the superintendents. We do have that chain of command we have to follow. That's very important. But at the same time, we are here for you guys, so we do need to be able for you to talk to us.
I like the idea of the forums. I like the idea of surveys. I know with one of the board meetings that I was at in regards to changing our conference that we were going to go into and getting a pulse from the parents and maybe doing a survey with the parents, thought that that would be good. I think it's just good to get their input of what they want to do. Parents are in charge of the children, of their kids. And whenever we make any changes, whenever the school district pulls any kind of program or anything like that, it needs to be talked about with some key, even if you had an advisory board of parents from each school, even if it's just 2 per school, and anybody who wants to volunteer for that and be objective, have people that are objective, and just get a pulse. Is it necessary to do a community-wide survey? If it's not, we don't do it, we just go to the advisory board. But the advisory board of the parents may be making a decision about that. We have our our parent and teacher PTO programs that we have in the schools. But I think when we're talking about things that affect their children in the district with their learning or their extracurriculars or what have you, we need to do that with them.
Very good. And along with communication, the next question, while we understand that there are legal limits on what can be shared publicly about personnel matters and contract buyouts, how can the district improve transparency around major leadership changes in order to build and maintain public trust? And I'll start with the incumbents. I'll start with Caitlin.
We legally can only say so much, unfortunately. That is just the way it is. There's no way around it. I can't make you any promises that, staffing issues, especially when they're big, if it falls into that category, we can't talk about it. Sometimes, I think we just pulled one not that long ago, just to show you guys some transparency, we can pull one if we're okay with that over into open session, I think, right? But I really think that the public needs to understand that there are legal ramifications for each one of us if we don't follow certain rules. So.
Do you have any idea of how you can bridge that gap? What you can say and to somehow stop the rumors?
Maybe we need to be more transparent in what we can and cannot say. Maybe we need to tell you guys what we can and cannot say. Maybe there needs to be a list that you can access online that you can see. This is what they talk about. This is what they cannot. This is what you guys can call about. This is what you need to go to a building for. If that's what we have to do, we can certainly do that. But I think that just educating the public would probably be a good idea. And we'll start with a list because I think that that's what they're going to want.
Trey, I'll turn it over to you.
But are you talking about for just personnel matters?
Not all personnel matters. Every time a teacher, how many buildings are there? How many employees are in the school district? It's 300 some employees.
375.
We're talking about the very public, high-level leadership changes, a superintendent, for example.
Well, like Dr. Hayne, when he retired, we posted that he retired. When Dr. Tomlinson retired, we posted that he retired. If an employee leaves for other than retirement, or they're just going to a different school, we've not had any superintendents do that. They're mostly all retired. Then we put out press releases for that. If it's a personnel issue, we can't say. We can just say they're no longer with the district. That legally, that's all you can say. It's no different than if I went to your employer and said, well, why did you fire Bill? Or why is Bill not here anymore? Well, your employer's not going to give me any information. We can't give that information out. I will tell you, there is nobody getting a paycheck from the Excelsior Springs School District that doesn't work for the Excelsior Springs School District. There just isn't anybody. There is. I don't know who they are because.
And so you understand you're an incoming candidate, so you may not have any information on that, but do you want to weigh in on this? Do you have any thoughts?
I understand when it's a personnel issue, how you cannot, because there are legal ramifications, especially if something's been done illegally. There could be a big snowball come down that hill. I understand that. But I think the public needs to know this is something that can't be talked about. We can't release anything because there could be ramifications of this. Just to know. Because, of course, the rumors start. And, You know, there's always somebody that thinks they knows what happened. So that's not healthy either.
Okay, thank you. So, other ways of building trust and communication is strengthening partnerships with local organizations in the community. So my question is, how would you strengthen those partnerships between the Excelsior Springs School District and local organizations in the community of Excelsior Springs to benefit students and the broader community? And so I'll start with you.
Are you talking about organizations or businesses?
Just anything.
Anything.
Anything in town.
Well, I think we already have that, the NCAPs that is still with us, and students that are juniors and seniors can go and like as an intern and go with different businesses. They also started the program, I believe, through the Career Center. If I'm wrong on that, I don't mean to be, but I think it's through the Career Center where you could be mentored also by local businesses. The NCAPs, I think they would go outside of the community and work in different businesses. But there was some things the chamber got behind, and there was students that were doing that. I think that's an awesome idea. You know, anytime parents or retired teachers or businesses or anything can be a part in our schools. I know we have security issues and there has to be some vetting with that, and I understand that. But I think anytime that we can be in our schools and seeing what our students are doing and conversing with them and maybe even helping them to dream a little bit, you know, I think that would be very healthy. But just being supportive. I mean, like I've told people when I visit with them one-on-one, our students are our future. I mean, I'm at the retirement age, and I'm not retired, but I'm at the retirement age. But not only my grandchildren, but ones that are coming way out are going to depend on what my values of my homes are going to depend upon what kind of roads I have in my community. It's going to depend on a lot of things. So I think anytime we can get in the buildings and be supportive or have them intern with businesses, I think that's a good thing.
Thank you. Kaylin?
The question, hold on, I want to clarify. The question was how the district and the community, like businesses and stuff
Yes.
like that.
How do you strengthen that relationship?
I think that we have a wonderful staff that likes to attend a lot of things. We do need to be out there a little bit more. I do think the board needs to attend the luncheons, the meet and greets, all of the things like that. Maybe we, designate one of us, we need to attend a city council meeting. We need to be out there. I think that we need to be visiting the businesses and making sure that they know that the relationship between the district and them is great, and there's always an open line. I think that we have been a little standoffish in the past. I think that sometimes we don't attend all of the things that we probably could. And our teachers are busy. They're in the buildings. Our superintendents are busy. They're dealing with the teachers. So, sometimes that lands on us, and it lands on the ones that, like me and Kenny or Jill can make it sometimes. We can't always all be there because we all have jobs. But I think that just investing ourselves into the community, being seen in these different places, like with the chamber and the city council and things like that.
Trey?
I think we have within the city of Excelsior, we have a good working relationship with a lot of organizations. We have the mentoring program. I think we started that this is year 2, I think. Maybe it's full year 1. I can't remember, but we send our Career Center kids. They go down and help the Good Samaritan Center every week unload the harvester's truck. The electrical trades and the building trades classes have worked on the city's old bank building. They've worked on the museum. They've helped the Park and Rec put up the dome. I was trying to think. I was going to say tent, but I knew it wasn't a tent. Over the pool. So I mean, I think we're integrated. We're in the chamber. We participate with the hospital fundraisers. So I think we're pretty integrated within the community. I mean, we did donate $1 million piece of land to build the community center on. So I mean, I think we've put forth. It's hard for all of us, or most of us, to get to town. My office isn't here; it's in the city, and to get back for a chamber luncheon or something like that. But for those who can, I think they usually attend, especially the Christmas dinner at the Elms.
We all like that.
Everybody tries to make that one. So.
All right, thank you. one more question under this category. There's a lot of talk about culture. How would you promote a positive and collaborative culture within the district? What steps would you take to ensure that the central office staff is actively engaged and present in school buildings and strengthen the relationships with teachers, students, and the support staff? Trey, I'll start with you.
Well, I would love to see I don't go to the buildings every day or ever hardly. So I'd love to see central office in the buildings. I mean, not every day, obviously, but hey, stand at the door, welcome them, tell them goodbye, have a great day, whatever. But I understand they have meetings they have to do. So whatever you can get in there, I think they should. I know they all go and read to the younger kids, kindergarten through second grade. I think they all go and read to them throughout the school years. But I think just being present and talking to teachers during class change time. We had a superintendent once that he would walk in, hat on, hands in his pockets of his coat, looking at the ground, and just walk straight to the principal's office. Never say hello to anybody he passed. Let's just say the culture then was really, really bad. And for every elementary position we had open, we would get 3 applications. So we did change that, and I don't know if our culture is going back that direction. I hope it's not. I've not heard that. If it is, speak up, because that's not what we want. So I think just being present and acknowledging, hey, you're important. You're here because I'm here because of you, is huge.
Anna Sue?
I think it's very important for leadership to be in the buildings and on a regular basis. There's several of them at the central office, and I think that should just be part of their job. To just let the teachers know, let the staff know, and the administration and each school know that we're in support of you. Is there anything that I can do for you? Is there any requests that you have? Are you having any problems? How can we address them? Being a listening ear to them. And the same thing, can be true for board members. But I think the leadership, that's powerful. That's very powerful. Everybody wants to be paid more. But how many times have you heard that I just want to be appreciated? I just want to be appreciated for the work that I do. That speaks volumes to people that get it. And so I think that's very important. I think I like the coming to the chamber. I like that. I come to the chamber. I have a business in the chamber, so I come to the chamber quite often. But I think that's important, and just being out there with people.
So as a board member, my job is not to be in a building. The only time I'm in a building is if I'm reading to your kid or I'm visiting one of mine. So you're not going to see us in the buildings. We're not teachers. That's not our job. We have wonderful admins that are always in the buildings. I can tell you that because I've had a couple of teachers within the last month coming to see me at my business telling me that they loved their conversations that they had with the superintendent that just happened to stop by and ask them how they were doing. I know that when I drop my kids off in the morning, I see some of them out there waving with a tiger at kids. So I know that they're in the building. They can always be in the building more. I think that if, maybe they need to just take a day a week and all go down there and say hello. But we have a lot of buildings and there's a lot of staff. And so, I think that they're in there. I do know that they're in there. They can always be there more. But I hope that our staff does feel valued and appreciated by our superintendents that we have now, because I think they're pretty great.
Okay. That comes into our final section. We'll come back to funding, vouchers, and levy-related policy. So the first question, there was a lot of questions about this, is do you support the current tax levy proposal? Why or why not? Anna Sue.
I am still gathering information of how I am going to support or not support the tax levy. Many of you have probably seen some of my Facebook posts of just getting facts. I just want to know the facts. I saw at the chamber luncheon the presentation, which was very good. And Mark Bullimore did a great job at abbreviating that. That was magical. So you did a good job with that tonight, and that helps me as well. I think more than anything for me is just to be assured that that money is going to teachers. I mean, the way that the sample ballot reads, it's confusing for us. Is it expensive? Yeah, it's expensive. I mean, if everybody's hurting, and including the teachers, including the staff, including everyone, but so is the ones that are being asked to be taxed. So that's kind of where I am. I'm kind of this kind of deal right now.
Okay. Kayla.
I'll answer this in two ways. First, I'll start with the ballot language. It's always terrible. No matter what we've done, it's always awful. It always reads horrible. There's always questions. I can tell you that the money is going to teachers. I can tell you that the money is going to all of our staff, and that's it. Do I support the tax levy? I do not think that you can sit on the Board of Education and not support your staff. Bottom line. So yes, I do support the tax levy because I support the staff. As a community member, I need more information too. Everybody does, right? It just happened. Like, it just came out. Like, it's fresh and it's new to them. But I got my information when I started to sit down and I read through it, and I took a whole Friday night and I went through every single thing on Facebook, on the website. I talked to people. I wanted to be sure that I, was trying to get all of the facts. So yes, I do support the staff as a board member, and I will be voting yes for that.
Try.
I do support it. I mean, I don't like taxes at all. I just had to write a fat one to the federal government. I don't like them. But at the same time, I'm tired of losing good teachers that have been here forever, that started here and they're leaving because they have their masters now, and we can't keep up. When they can go to Kearney and make 10 grand more, they can go to Lee Summit or Liberty and make $15,000 more. And I don't blame the teacher for doing that, because the retirement's based on their highest 3 years. So if you're getting close to retirement age, you got to do what you got to do to pad yourself going forth, right? I get that. So I mean, it is expensive. I did a comparison with my taxes and what it would cost me. I put it out there. I don't have anything to hide. I mean, here it is. But our budget is about, like Mark said, it's about 76% staff. Okay, and all of our staff deserve a pay raise. They're facing the same things that you face in life with inflation and cost of goods. We face it from a school district standpoint. Our utility bills are outrageous. I mean, our water bills are outrageous, just like yours. Roofing, if your roof needs replaced, it's 20 or 30 grand. If our roof needs replaced, it's 2 million. So I get it. Everything has gone up for everybody. But out of 100% of our budget, 76% goes to benefits. 15% is fixed cost, contracted, busing, food service. So that only leaves you about 8 to 9% discretionary spending that you can look at. What can I cut out of that to move here without reducing staff? So we've done things in the past few years with gym memberships. We provide all of our employees a membership to the community center. It's not cheap, but it's cheaper than giving them a $5,000 pay raise. Okay, so we've tried everything we can try, and Doug has even said that. Sorry, I'm out of time. Can I finish? And Doug's even said a couple years ago that we've done it. We've tried to push forward, but at a point in time, you can't spend your reserves for that ongoing expense, because that is in case you need that roof, in case you need that HVAC unit. You got to have the reserves to pay for that. You can't use it on an ongoing expense.
Okay. Thank you. Next question. What is your stance on school vouchers and open enrollment policies? And how would these affect funding and equity in our district? Try.
Well, I don't like them, and I'll tell you why. Because we're far enough away from the city that we won't I don't know that we would lose a lot of kids, okay? But if we lose 100 kids across K-12, that's not enough kids in one grade that you're going to be able to get rid of a teacher to save the money that you're going to lose. Does that make sense? So you're going to lose 100 kids over 12 grades, 13 grades counting kindergarten. Well, that's a lot of money that you lose out on. Just in state ADA money, that's a lot of money you lose out on. And then if they take their tax money, that's even more money. But it's almost not enough that you can make drastic budget cuts to get that money back, if that makes any sense. I mean, it's not dollar for dollar. So that will hurt other kids that are left behind. And my fear is, if it goes to charter schools, if you want to do private schools, charter schools, facing the same exact standardization and grading scale and responsibilities that public schools have to face, I'm okay with it. But if they don't have to meet the same requirements by the state that we have to meet, then they shouldn't get the tax money and get the benefit of taking that on. So that's my opinion.
Thank you. Okay.
I don't love them. But at the same time, if we have to do it, we have to do it. But I think that we can all agree that we all want what's best for kids. And if, I don't think that that's what's best for kids.
Actually.
Well, if a family decides to move their child out of a school to go to another school, there's good reason for that. I mean, that's pretty abrupt. I mean, I was one that was in public schooling, and there was a major reason when I was in 4th grade while I was moved out of that school to be put in a private school. And if there's like your 1 and your 2 or whatever it is, it could be behavior, it could be whatever, but if there's masses exiting that school to go to a different school or what have you, there's something wrong with the school. There's something wrong with the system. And I don't see Excelsior being like that, but if there's something wrong with the way a child is being educated, then yes, I am in support of a parent having school choice.
So then the other half of that question is then how would you as a school board member work to affect the funding and the equity within this district?
How would I, as a school board member?
So if students are leaving this district and there's
like
vouchers.
by many,
Mhm.
yeah.
Running for school board, if you're going to be on the school board, how would you affect the funding and the equity in our district to sustain it?
I don't know, you'd have to start cutting things. I mean, if that were to happen, I don't really see droves of children coming out of our schools. I know several kids came out of our schools in 2020 and 2021 because their parents didn't want them to wear masks at school, or they were fearful of the pandemic, or whatever the reason was. And many of them haven't come back. We have less children now than in our school system in this district than we've ever had. So whatever the reason for that is, attrition or what have you.
Okay, thank you. Next question. If the levy fails, do you have any ideas for addressing the teacher shortage and maintaining or improving educational quality in our schools? Any thoughts, any ideas? Okay.
We're gonna have to get creative. We're gonna have to look at everything. Like I said earlier, it's gonna be hard, and it's not gonna be fun. We're already struggling with staff. You really want me to be honest with you? We're struggling with staff. We're struggling with keeping them. We're struggling with subs. There aren't teachers. There's no teachers. So if there's no teachers, and there's already no teachers, and we lose teachers, who are going to teach our children? I think that we're at that point, like I said earlier, Elkhorn, I don't love that. It's going to be big cuts. It's not going to be small cuts, because small cuts don't pay people. It's going to end up being the big things, and that unfortunately is not something I want to do, and it's terrible to think about, but we're going to have to get creative.
And Sue?
My first question would be, why do we not have teachers coming through the system? Why do we not have people going to colleges to become teachers? Why is that happening? why are the teachers leaving, even if they do have money? And one reason I'm hearing from retired teachers or teachers who just get out of it, I just can't do it anymore. And a lot of that, I believe, is support on discipline. How many times have you heard from a teacher, I just can't take it? I'm not in the classroom, so I don't know. I can only go with what I've been hearing, and that leads me back to the bullying from a cell phone, the fights in the schools, because if we can cause a fight, we get to take a video of it, and that's why we want to cause a fight. But if we don't have a phone, we can't video it, so there's no fighting. Focusing, being able to teach these kids paying attention, discipline issues, behavior issues. That's a lot of the reason why teachers are leaving. And they're not just leaving, they're leaving to get larger salaries, but are they leaving maybe because they're not getting support of how we can discipline these kids, and even talking with parents, because I know parents are part of the equation as well. Those are some things that I think need to be addressed.
Try.
Would you mind repeating the question?
Sure. If the levy fails, do you have any ideas for addressing the teacher shortage and maintaining or improving the educational quality in our schools?
Well, I think you have to just start with the simple mindset that nothing's off the table. I mean, when it comes time, you have to look at everything. So is it bigger class sizes? Is it fewer teachers? Is it, what? But you have to remember, at the end of the day, whatever you cut, whether it's an admin position, a central office, it's an admin position at a building level, every cut you make, at the end of the day, affects a child in some way. Okay, maybe a janitor. If they're not cleaning up the place, that's going to affect that child. I mean, everything you touch affects a child in some way, somehow, throughout their career in the school district. So you can't not pass the levy and then get mad when you want to make cuts. I mean, because it's going to affect children. It doesn't matter what we do.
And the next question kind of follows that too. So would you, and Trey, you can start with this too, would you ever support budget reductions at the administrative level to prioritize teacher compensations in the classroom?
Yes. I mean, I would look at every level, to be honest with you. We didn't backfill an assistant principal's position at the high school. We looked hard and heavy at backfilling Dr. Bullimore's spot. People think that those 4 people down at central office don't do a lot. Go spend a day with Dr. Miller or Dr. Everett and see what they do in a day and what they do at night when they go home. They're no different than a teacher. They're not grading papers at home anymore, but they're working on stuff for the teachers going forth. So, I mean, it's a lot of work.
Kayla?
Repeat the question.
Okay. We're talking about budget cuts and stuff. Would you ever support budget reductions at the administrative level to prioritize teacher compensation and classroom needs?
I think that we'd have to look at everything. I think if we budget cut our administrators right now, they're going to leave. So we have to be comparable with the districts. We have to be able to pay our people. But if we have no teachers, then yes, we're going to have to start looking at everything. It's from the top down.
And Sue?
Well, normally in a business, if you need money, you do start at the top because that's where the most money is. And to be able to alleviate, any shortfall that you need it where you have to have it. I mean, your teachers can't go without benefits. Your buildings can't go without being cleaned or have utilities or what have you. You can't go without teachers. So yes, I would support that.
Okay. Now we're coming to the close of the forum. I want to ask this last question, and with this, I want you to go on into any closing remarks, which will allow you time to talk about anything else we talked about, school levy, anything that we've talked about today. So Anna Sue, I'll start with you. And the question is, what do you bring to the board? What would you bring to the board that differs from the current board members? And how have your personal experiences shaped your values in education? And as you answer that question, if you would just go into your closing remarks.
What I bring to the board, I believe, is that just being an advocate for our community, being an advocate for our stakeholders, being out in the community and hearing from them. I ask a lot of questions normally. I do appreciate those that are on the board right now who ask a lot of questions. Wanting to know, studying the packet that you get every month, and then coming ready with patients at with questions at the work session and then in the open session. I think that's very, very important, and I would be one that would do that. When it would come to budget cuts or anything like that, that would have to have a lot of questions and look at that very carefully, line upon line. And then what was the second half of that?
Anything you want to say in your closing remarks to everyone who's here tonight?
My closing remarks, I just wanted to make this clear because I am running with a transparency lead on my, I almost call it marketing, but it's not marketing. It is, but with your signs and that. And there has been some speaking, and there's been some Facebook chatter about the two signs on 10 Highway and Titus being supported by me, both of those signs. I did not support the no vote levy sign. Did not pay for it. I didn't support it. They both look the same color. I know perception is always reality. So I just wanted to clear that out of everything. And then, as you heard me earlier, there's just been chatter about different things. And I want you to know that any of you can call me, or anybody that you talk to, whether it be a teacher, retired teacher, whoever, that has any questions or been hearing something, I can give you my phone number if you'd like it. And you can call me and talk to me directly and ask me questions about what I think about different things. So just want to put that out there.
Okay, thank you. Kaylin, the question again, what do you bring to the board that differs from the current members? How has your personal experiences shaped your values in education?
Difference from the, okay. Well, I think that I obviously am very involved. I'm a community member. I think that I do bring a level of transparency. And then at the same time, I think that just being a board member is, it's very important to me. I've done a lot of things here. I bring a lot of knowledge with finance, a lot of knowledge with the community, with the children, with being able to know what it takes to have a district run effectively and efficiently. And then, just being a mom and being in there and, being present. So I think that that's what I bring that's a little bit different than the other ones. Now, when it comes to my closing remarks, I really implore you guys to look at who you're voting for and make sure that it's what's best for kids. And I want you to make sure that, you are knowledgeable in who we are and what we stand for and what we have done. And, like I said, do what's best for kids. That's it.
Okay, Trey.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. What do you bring to the board that differs from the other members? And how has your personal experiences shaped your values in education?
So I bring a 24-year background in finance and banking. So budgets I kind of understand a little bit. To shape my, what on education? Shape my...
Well, how have your personal experiences shaped your values in education?
It takes your entire first term on a board to understand the lingo. Then they change it. Mm-hmm. So
and they
don't get
abbreviate
comfortable. Everything's an abbreviation. But anyway, so I think having served on the board for as many years as I have, and yes, I'm the old guy that, kind of gets old and crusty, but I am what I am. I'll never make you think I'm not what I am. I mean, I wear it on my sleeve, and you may not like it, what I tell you, but I'm not going to lie to you, okay? But I think just being there, learning it, watching us change and grow. Our enrollment is down. I don't know what our population-wise is. I'm going to venture a guess to say we're probably 50% empty nesters in our community now, or more. So I think that's a big reason why our enrollment is declining. Hopefully if they build these 1,600 homes somewhere, you know, young families will move back in. But, you know, I tell everybody, and I've said this ever since I got on the board, we have to answer the question of who do we want to be when we grow up? Not me, not you, not you. Who do we want to be as a community or as a school district? We're far enough away from the city that a lot of kids, when they graduate and go to college, they don't come back because they get a job in the city. And it's just that much further to drive for them. But yet we're far enough out that we're not rural. Or we're close enough in that we're not rural, but we're far enough out that we're not city. Does that make sense? So we have to decide who we want to be. We can't be both because it just doesn't work. Well, in 15 years, we've still not answered that question because we still think we can attract, and it's just hard because people go to work for CERN or Oracle or, you know, whoever, and they want to stay in the city. That's where the nightlife's at. They're young. They don't want to come back. And then they get married to somebody in college that's not even from here. Then next thing you know, they're living in Springfield. They're not even coming back to Excelsior Springs. So that's tough. So we've watched that. So it's kind of a little bit on the what shaped me is just watching us, you know, our district transform. I went to school here. We had 207 kids in my graduating class. I'm not going to tell you where I ranked. It wasn't very high, but you know. But I'm one of those kids that I wasn't going to college. I took my ACT the day after graduation and decided to go to college. I mean, it just is what it is. I was just going to go to work and make a living, and luckily my in-laws convinced me to just go take the ACT test. Just, you know, so. I have a degree in criminal law and I'm a banker, so you know, it is what it is. But so yeah, so I mean, it's just it's all about the kids and just helping the kids get better. But whatever we got to do, and you know, if it's cutting Dr. Bullimore, then we cut Dr. Bullimore. I can't say Dr. Tomlinson because he's retiring in a couple months. So, and my closing remarks is, you know, I see on Facebook, and I've tried to behave and bite my tongue and not say a lot. When we compare ourselves, we have to compare to who we lose teachers to or staff to. We don't lose them to Richmond. We don't lose them to Lawson. We lose them to Kearney, Liberty, North Kansas City, Lee Summit, some to Park Hill. You know, but we're not losing them to smaller districts. Yes, Kearney's tax levy is lower than our tax levy, but they have over 200 million more in assessed value. So they're bringing in more money with a lower rate because they have a higher assessed value. Same thing with Liberty, same thing with Lee Summit. I mean, you can just pick them all. They all have a higher, even Smithville. Smithville's over $100 million more in assessed value than we are. That's before Meta goes on the tax rolls with their big data storage facilities they're building up there, and those are massive. So that's going to go up. Commercial properties taxed at a much higher rate than residential. So the more commercial property you get, you know, I was telling somebody today, Liberty was kind of at this point, early 90s, maybe late 80s, early 90s. Walmart wanted to expand. Liberty told them no. Walmart goes across the street into Kansas City. You see what happened over there. Well, then Liberty got wise. Well, at that point in time, majority of the funding for everything in the city of Liberty fell on the residents because they didn't have a big commercial base. So the residents had to pay more. They were always asking for tax increases. I had a bunch of family that lives in Liberty and lived in Liberty. Well, now they got all this new businesses and box stores and stuff. So you see Liberty building schools every other day. They're building a new elementary school, and now they're working on their third high school because of that. Well, now the commercial's picking up the bigger tab than residential. So I mean, Is it a pain to come to the residents and ask for more tax dollars? Yes. But at the same time, we want to keep a great school and great teachers. We want to keep them here until they retire from here, not moving on down the highway to retire somewhere else. So.
Well, that concludes our forum for this evening. I'm very excited to have a full house tonight, so thank you all for taking time to be here. I hope you found the night informational. Hope you found answers to some of your questions. I believe the candidates will stay around for a little bit more. I did put their emails up on the screen there, so if you do have more questions and you want to ask specific questions to the candidate, please feel free to do so. I want to thank Dr. Mark Willimore for being here and talking about the levy. Again, if you have questions, please reach out to him. And thank you all for being here. Thank you to our hosts. Thank you to the library for giving us this wonderful facility tonight. To the business women for helping put everything together. And again, I'm Excelsior Citizen for live streaming this and bringing this out to the public today. And again, I'm Brian Rice. I am the Chamber President. Thank you all for being here, and have a great evening. And remember to vote.
I've been trying not to chatter my teeth this whole time.
Yeah, they brought it down.